So today I'm going to be turning an olive ash cup on the Axminster Trade AT350WL. Okay, so we've got the ash cup blank here. I'm just going to pre-drill the hole to attach it to the screw chuck. So the chisels I'm going to be using during these projects are the Crown Cryo M42 Razor Edge range, and they hold their edge amazingly well. This is a bowl gouge that I have just very slightly altered the profile. I'm going to be using a bowl gouge, spindle gouge, roughing gouge and a parting tool. Screw chuck. So I'm going to start the lathe going at about sort of 70 or 80 RPM. I'm going to offer up the blank, going to let that bite in. I'm just going to hold that until it pulls it out of my hands, and I can stop the lathe. I can take the spindle lock, pop that in, and then tighten it the rest of the way by hand. Okay, I'm just going to bring the tool rest in and the tailstock. Bring that in. So that's just nice and tight and supported from that end. I'm going to lock that off. So I'm going to be using the roughing gouge again, and I'm looking for about 500 or 600 RPM to begin with, just to start to get that into round. Going to change the belt position to the second pulley, which will give me a range between 170 and 1700 RPM, just because the workpiece is smaller and I want to be able to go at faster speeds. So given that I'm turning a cup, I'm going to have it start with the widest point at the rim and then kind of follow it down almost like a beaker. So I'm going to be stopping and just checking what it feels like in my hand as I'm going, to get that profile and the size kind of exactly how I want it. So as I start to refine the profile, I'm starting my cut at the top, which will be the rim, and I'm starting to cut with a very, very small amount of pressure, and as I'm working my way down, I'm increasing that pressure and depth of cut as evenly as I can to get a kind of graduating profile that's widest at the top and narrowest at the bottom. So as I cut in and apply more pressure, it's taking away more wood as I get down to the bottom in a nice. Okay, so I think I'm quite happy now with the profile of the cup and the shape and the size in my hand. I'm just going to check that. But it feels like a comfortable size of cup that you would hold. So I'm going to bring the tool rest back in, and just with a pencil I'm going to mark where I want to cut in with the parting tool, just to define a tenon that can be then gripped in the chuck for hollowing. Okay, so I'm now going to use the parting tool to cut in and set the depth for my tenon that's going to then be gripped in the chuck. Slide the tailstock out of the way, just so I can remove that last little bit that was being held in place, and then I can take it off the lathe and reverse it and grip it in the chuck ready for hollowing. Okay, so I'm just going to mount the cup now into the jaws of the chuck. And it's important to tighten all three key points on the chuck to make sure it's nice and secure. Okay, so I'm now going to start looking at hollowing the cup. I'm going to bring the tool rest round just below the centre point, and again giving myself plenty of overhang. If I need to pivot the tool round, I've still got lots of support here. Decide on the rim thickness, and I'm then going to use the parting tool to cut in to give me a nice crisp, clean, straight edge, and start to set the depth of cut that I can then work from using the bowl gouge to remove and hollow the cup. Repeating that process, I'm just going to come in and check the depth. Okay, so I'm pretty much at the depth I want, and again I'm going to use the parting tool like a mini scraper really, and I'm going to run it from the centre out to the edge of the rim so that the base is nice and flat. Okay, so I'm now going to reposition the tool rest, and I'm just going to re-profile the very rim of the cup, just to give it a slight curve so that when you drink from it, it doesn't have a kind of sharp edge on it. Okay, so I'm now going to sand the outside and the inside of the cup before removing it, turning it round, gripping it with the jaws again to remove the tenon. Okay, so now that the cup has been sanded, I have reversed it. I've expanded the jaws inside the opening of the cup. I've put some tissue paper inside just to protect the inside wall of the cup from the jaws. I'm going to slide the tailstock in place and just secure that, and then we're going to remove the tenon. Okay, so I've got the finished cup off the lathe. I've given it a wipe down to remove any dust, and I'm going to give it its first coat of hard wax oil using a cotton rag. So I'm applying quite a liberal coat of the oil. I'm going to let it sink in for a little while and wipe off the excess, and then set it aside to dry.